Only a year after Valorant's launch, a Shameless copy ended up peeking its head. Through it was labeled Project M, and it resembled Valorant to an astonishing amount. It was quite literally a Shameless copy. I mean, it wasn't even released yet, and they called it Project M, while Valorant's code name was Project A. They didn't even bother trying to name it. Where is Project M today? Well, let's take a look at its story from start to finish because it has quite a satisfying end. This footage goes ahead and shows the most obvious copy, including a plain copy of ARA's eye orb or UI elements that are obviously copied one-to-one with agents you can probably make out. Even the buy menu not only structured almost identically, but they didn't even bother trying to create their own unique guns. They have an exact copy-paste of anything that's in Valorant. It is shameless that Valorant guns like Ares Odin the Ghost can be seen. Dude, the only thing that changed is just some price differences, that's it. Anyways, you might not be convinced yet, but you can also see the knife animation. You can make the exact same face using the knife in Valorant. Valorant players had fun looking at how insanely shameless this was. Naturally, the game got a lot of heat, a lot of pressure, and it shut down. But the story doesn't end here. See, the thing is that Project M was in development by a company called NetEase, and they are infamously known as a Chinese company that just copy-pastes multiple games. What you're seeing in the background is kind of a niche game, so you might not be able to tell how much of a copy this is. Of course, that was a joke, but look how bad this copy of Fortnite looks. It's almost hilarious to look at. Yeah, this was called Buildtopia. So now you have an idea of the company who was designing Project M, but regardless, like I said, it got quote-unquote taken down, but not quite. Instead, it got re-released as Hyperfront with a lot more changes to try and compete one-to-one against Valorant. The biggest issue here is while they did change some stuff up, it's still a direct copy. Making a Viper smoke into sand doesn't exactly save you, or a Sova dart into a bird doesn't exactly save you now. It's not completely as strong when it comes to copyright, but still we can see a lot of things. The skins, though, were pretty unique, and clearly because they still ended up copying Valorant somehow with certain skins in obscure ways. You can see Dark Tide is just a copy of one of the worst battle passes in Valorant in depth, so I don't exactly know what their approach was, but there are some complete unique aspects that did not exist before they took down the game and republished it as Hyperfront. It's still a very weird story overall, and we can still see a lot of carryover and still majority, just a straight-up copy. They completely tried but didn't try, if that makes sense. Like, clearly a lot of effort went into copying, which is what makes it such an odd idea, right? There's still a lot of effects, a lot of textures, a lot of money gets poured into this. However, the thing is, copyright laws in China are a little bit wishy-washy. But it's also kind of confusing because Riot is owned by Tencent, which is a Chinese, literally conglomerate. So partial to this is you might think they can get away with it, but that's not exactly what went on. A crazy part is that Hyperfront actually has ears that work. I say this because the Valorant community has been asking for a replay system. And guess what? Hyperfront has replays. The end of the game, there is post-match, replays of all of the best plays from the entire game. Not just one showcasing any best play from the match, and then after the game is over, you can go through and literally look at a replay of the entire game. This is very bare bones. And again, I am not trying to give them too much props for this, but the fact that this game, this mobile game, has a replay mode and Valorant doesn't is sort of insane, kind of crazy, and goes to show that Valorant should definitely have a replay system by now, even if it's completely bare bones. Now, the thing is, Riot, if they want to do something, they usually do it right. So I do wonder if they're over-polishing, but they also said they're not working on it. But it's a joke. That's a joke. But we're not here to roast Riot. Okay, let's move on. What truly happened is Riot came out. Swinging now, it's important to note that Riot does not like their games copied at all. Now, no developer does, if you want to put it that way. However, Riot already has a history of through with that lawsuit, and what this lawsuit ended up doing is scaring NetEase. They did not want to go to court, and so in the end, NetEase announced the closure of their own servers through a Twitter post on April 3rd, where they said that the esports title, Hyperfront on April 10th, 2023, at 8 a.m., will be closed. The servers will shut down for good, and they also didn't explain why they're shutting down the servers. They just said, yeah, we're shutting down the servers. That obviously indicates that it is most likely because of the lawsuit that Riot issued. Riot shortly after announced the fact that they're even making a mobile game, which opens up the mobile scene. They already are aware of this game. Realize its popularity, realize they're infringed on their copyrights. So they used the opportunity to file a lawsuit. NetEase gets scared. And now the landscape is free for Riot to come on through with Valorant Mobile. And that was the end of Project M turned to Hyperfront, turned to Dead Game.